Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marek. I'm training manager at the ISCB, the Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics. And it's a great pleasure for me today to be here with you. During this talk, I will try to get you through the cycle of best practices that has enabled us to strengthen bioinformatics training at SIB in Switzerland. So this is the overview of my talk. It will be composed of 3 parts. The first one is a presentation of the SIB training group and our activities. The second is the cycle of the best practices in training. And finally, the last part will be about the collaboration we have with our partners and how we integrate what we have learned into our own practice at SIB training. So let's start by a quick presentation of the SIB training. So what do we do at SIB Training Group? Well, in close collaboration with the different SIB groups, the training group provides a comprehensive, wide-ranging training program in bioinformatics and computational biology, which is actually adapted to the needs of the scientific community. So our courses are given by SIB experts, as well as national and international speakers. Our offer is continuously evolving to meet the needs of life scientists, clinicians, and bioinformaticians to ensure they make the best of the bioinformatics resources. And finally, we also provide support in organizing training events with partners, for example, by communicating about or promoting external courses, or by helping with registration process. SIB courses are targeted to PhDs, postdocs, technicians, and researchers from the Swiss and the international scientific community, from academia and private companies. Our courses are of different lengths, can be of different lengths, mostly in a face-to-face format, but also streamed online. This initiative has started with the COVID-19 pandemic, and this will remain in place and even continue to grow in the future, as you have heard Patricia Pelagi talking about it yesterday in the web session. Trainers really put an emphasis on practical learning, and several courses also exploit the SIB's free access e-learning modules on basic bioinformatics topics. Our portfolio is composed of a wide range of courses and workshops covering several domains, such as programming, statistics, biological data visualization, integration and analysis, machine learning, and so on. Just to give you an idea at which scale SIB training is working, this slide shows you some figures computed over 3 years, from 2017 to 2019. So what you can see is that on average, we have run 54 block courses per year, which correspond to 99 days of course, covering over 1,200 trainees and involving 22 SIB groups. So these figures, as well as the level of quality and relevance I will show you later in the presentation, they were made possible through the implementation of a complete cycle of planning, organization, and usage of best practices in training, such as the ones which have been provided by the training communities at ISCB, Elixir, and Goblet. So with this chart, I have tried to represent the different steps of our cycle of best practices, and for which I will guide you through in the following slides. So let me start with the first step, which is the identification of the training needs. So in order to always meet the participants' training needs and adapt the annual portfolio of courses, we continuously collect feedback. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, by running a post-course survey for each single course, where we ask the participants which courses they would like us to organize in the future. We also seek feedback from the various communities, so from the trainers, from the bioinformatics community, the open research, or reproducible research. We also try to get feedback getting feedback, strategic outlook, sorry, on training activities from the discussion with the SIB training committee. And we also have a discussion with our group leaders at the SIB and the members about their research and the latest bioinformatics development. So this is really a great source of information. So the second step after having identified the needs is the program composition. So once the needs are known, we create the annual program with the courses in the identified topics. This portfolio is decided in collaboration with the trainers. So who are they? So the trainers are the staff from the SIB training group. So we have internal discussions, retreats together to start elaborating the program and discussing the topics. We also reach out the SIB member on particular topics. We also have sometimes the opportunity to invite speakers and trainers from abroad to cover a specific subject of interest. What we tried as much as possible is to have a program which focuses on the needs and the SIB resources, covering a diversity of topics and level of knowledge. These courses are programmed and delivered in the various SIB sites, which correspond to the main cities in Switzerland, and now also online, offering the possibilities for those who are too far from our sites or even from abroad to attend our training sessions. So coming back to the cycle, the third step is the description of our courses. So we define the course outline in collaboration with the trainer as well. With our experience, we try to manage participants' expectation by defining as best as possible the target audience, which is the knowledge level, the prerequisites, the background needed to attend a particular course. To write effective learning objective, we use the Bloom's taxonomy. This terminology includes 6 levels of learning that can be used to structure the learning objectives, the lessons, and the assessment of our courses. So these levels of learning are remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. We also select and develop content which is relevant to and based on these learning objectives we want to achieve. We chose active learning activities that will best lead to these learning objectives, such as, for example, lectures or hands-on or group exercises, demo, live coding, and so on. And finally, we also design assessments to be able to measure if the learning objectives are actually achieved. How do we find our courses? Well, they are present on our institutional website in the form of a regularly updated list of upcoming events, as you can see on the left part of the slide. So each entry in this list is clickable and will lead you to a dedicated page containing the description of the course and all the information needed to register and access the course venue. Our courses also appear in the Elixir's training portal called TESS, which allows to browse, discover, and organize life sciences training resources, which are aggregated from the Elixir nodes and third-party providers. You can navigate through this portal. You can search by the type of events, the material, the provider, or even the workflows. And finally, our courses are also findable directly on web browsers. So since our course pages are described with the bioschema specification and metadata, such as title, year, location, keywords, this greatly helps their integration into the test portal. And this also allows a better indexing in web browsers and also gives a valuable information to enable a potential participant to assess whether a particular course meets their needs and background knowledge. So this clearly is a step towards the fair training, fair for training description and fair for training material. The fourth step of this cycle is actually the running of the course. So once courses have been properly described in terms of content, structure, audience, prerequisites, learning objectives, logistic, application process, the course promotion can actually start, and our team at the ISCB training is there to quickly react to any requests regarding logistical organizational aspects. So the course is then run by the trainers, either face-to-face or online. The training managers are always around in case any help is needed. And finally, the fifth steps is about evaluation. So on top of the information that we gather concerning the needs of our participants, to our trainees, we also gather information about quality. So this information is collected from the participant at the end of each course in accordance with the Elixir quality metrics standard. So this is what we call the short-term survey, if you wish. Then between 6 and 12 months after a training has happened, information about the long-term impact of those courses is also collected from willing participants, which allows us to analyze the effects of ISCB training on their work and career. So both the short-term and the long-term metrics are then uploaded to the Elixir metrics database, allowing to more easily share this data with other Elixir nodes, as well as visualizing it in different formats and obviously reporting back to our stakeholders. So let me show you in the following slides some examples of data collected in terms of quality and impact in 2019. So generally, the ISCB courses are highly valued and consistently receive very positive evaluation in terms of organization, structure, useful content, and also in accordance with the needs of the participants. So in this slide, we have asked, this represents one question asked in the short-term survey, which is, please tell us your overall rating for the entire course. And what you can see in this pie chart is that in 93% of the cases, course participants considered that the course was excellent or very good or good. Another question from this short-term survey is about course recommendations. So what you can also clearly see from this pie chart is that 90%, nearly 90% would recommend the course to their colleagues after having attended it. And as I said previously, long-term assessment is regularly performed to measure the impact of our training. Here's an example of question asked, which is, are you now able to use the tools or resources covered in the training? And what we can see from the results is that more than 80% of the participants are able to use the tools covered in the training after having attended the ISCB courses, making them more independent in their research work. And here is another question, another example of question, which is, how did the training event help you in your work, with your work? And what we can see from the chart is that training has greatly helped them in different ways. Training feel that they're better equipped to analyze the data. They're more efficient and quicker in analyzing their data. So now let me talk a bit regarding the third part of my talk. Let me talk a bit about the collaboration we have with our partners. So as you probably know now, the ISCB training group coordinates training courses and collaborates in pan-European and international training courses and projects with partners such as Elixir, ISCB and Goblet. So there's a constant dialogue that exists with our various partners over the years, and we continuously learn from each other's experience in order to implement best practices to enhance bioinformatics training, as shown in the previous slides. So here I'm going to show you an example of collaboration with the Elixir and Goblet. So our trainers from ISCB are encouraged to attend train-the-trainer courses from Elixir and Goblet in order to be prepared to effectively create training lessons, sessions, and courses which are focused on active learning by clearly defining learning outcomes and prerequisites, and also assessing learning. During this course, this face-to-face course, they also learn about adult learning principles and can become more prone, if you wish, to create teaching activities that will increase the engagement of trainees. Our staff members from the ISIB training group are also trained, so we have also this expertise on how to describe courses and compose course content with the train-the-trainer principle in mind. So the material used to run these face-to-face courses, they are composed of 4 main topics that we already have heard today during the session, and they're also available on GitHub, so you have the link at the bottom of this slide. What we are currently working on is how to share our course material with the community of trainers and training more easily. So making them more findable, if you wish, and open. So 2 examples of this idea is that we are trying to reshape this material, these train-the-trainer courses that are given so far face-to-face. We're trying to reshape the material into guides. And the other example is that we're transforming the material to make this material usable for online self-learning. So currently it's used only for face-to-face with a set of slides which are also available on GitHub. So that leads me to the end of my talk. So just a few take-home messages. So what did we achieve with the integration and implementation of these best practices? Well, I believe we have increased even more the quality of our courses and the satisfaction from the participants. We've broadened the training scope in terms of level of courses that we are offering, from beginner to more advanced, and in terms also of topics that we are proposing in our portfolio. We also have broadened the training scale over the years, so we have more and more courses, more and more days of teaching, and more participants since we exist. And yeah, I believe we have become a bioinformatics training reference in Switzerland nowadays. So what I will say in conclusion is that following these best practices defined by our community of trainers in ISCB, Elixir and Goblet and ISIB, this has greatly contributed to the development of the ISIB training courses and its success. So to finish, let me acknowledge the following people, my colleagues from the ISIB training group, who are coordinating all our portfolio of courses, and more especially my team leader, Patricia Pelagi, for her support. I would like to thank also the ISIB training committee for their valuable feedback and advice. And also, obviously, our partners from Elixir, Goblet, ISCB, and my ISIB colleagues for the fruitful collaboration throughout the years. So thank you for your attention, and also to the ISCB and the organizer of the Education Cozy for giving me this opportunity to present this work today. I'm of course happy to take any question.
Thanks a lot, Diana, for this wonderful talk covering the portfolio of ISIB training. We have a few questions in the Q&A. Maybe I will start with them. And Marcella, they will asking how many trainers are involved in the courses over the three-year period, the one you presented with the stats.
I haven't got the numbers in mind. I don't know if you should have the number on average. How many SIB trainer do we have on average per year?
We have about 80 trainers per year. Yeah, they are from the ISIB group, but also from the SIB in general, and many people invited, speakers from friends and colleagues from everywhere.
Thanks. Michelle, do you still need this one, Michelle? How do you identify the needs Diana covered a certain extent.
I think that was the first part of the cycle. So
Exactly.
we from the training group, we discuss together and really study the feedback of the courses we have. So every feedback is analyzed in terms, because there's a question at the end of the feedback, short-term feedback, which is what other courses would you like us to organize in the future. So this is a valuable source of information that we really gather and discuss then all together within the SIB training group. Then obviously we discuss also with our colleagues at the SIB with the different groups, because we have a lot of different expertise in SIB, and so we try to see if they could cover the topics that we have identified or not, or if they have any other ideas depending on the trends bioinformatics is taking at the moment. So we really have fruitful exchanges with our colleagues. I don't know if that answered the questions.
Yeah, maybe Francis, go ahead. There is one more question.
Sure. Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Great talk. The couple questions. One is the survey, the initial survey, and then the one a year later. What percentage of people respond a year later? What's your dropout rate?
Yeah, well, that's well, we have quite a high rate of responders in the short terms. It's about, I would say, 75%. It's after about 2 or 3 reminders. So it's just not what you have to go like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Obviously, the second one you would expect a lower percentage, right? And this is the case. So we're about, I would say about 40% from one of the latest analysis that I have done.
That's
so
pretty good, yeah.
Which is not too bad, but obviously you have to ask only those who have also said that they would be happy to
willing
be contacted
to
for
respond.
the long term. So you have to be compliant with that idea of willingness.
Yeah. And then my second question is related to the numbers you presented. I think you had 1,200 trainees over, is that over 3 years or over 2 years?
No, that was
1 year?
That was the average per year.
That was the average per year. That's right. So do you know, is that only or mostly Switzerland, or?
This is mostly Switzerland. So we have.
Okay. So do you know what the percentage of what's the maximum? How many biology graduate students, I presume, or trainees, postdocs and trainees are there in any given year? Is it 5,000? Is it 2,000? Do you have are you saturated the market, is I guess more my question.
So what you want to know if we gathering the.
Do you think you're training all the people that could ever want to be trained? I.e., is there people that are not being trained that are just not coming to your classes, but they should come to your classes, or everybody who should come to your class does come to your class?
Well, that's hard to say. That's hard to answer. I think most of our attendees actually, yes, they're postdocs and PhDs and even research lab technician willing to be more independent in their work. That's for sure. I even have PIs in some of my courses. I think they're limited by the time they can dedicate it to training, because we have short training, we have longer training over a week. But still, I think we're trying to reach out also people from industry, and some of them are coming to our courses because obviously they're open to industry participants. But I think that there's also a limit of time they can dedicate to training, and this is they can't come for 2 days. I mean, for them it's really like too much. So
sure. Yeah.
That could be a target audience also that we trying to invite a bit more to our courses. But I think we're trying to advertise them as much as possible. So,
but do you have any way of assessing? Do you have any way of assessing what the numbers, what the target audience is? So, do you have any sense of that, or you're just
we in the short term, well, in the registration process, when they register, they actually give us what the status, if you wish. So if they're PhD student, postdoc, PI, and so on.
Yeah.
So we have this information from the registration. So we know that.
No, but that's not what I'm asking. So I'm asking is, let's say, I'll just take an example of one department in one school. Let's say Lausanne University biology department. Of those, let's say there's 200 students in that department, but only 10 of them come to your classes. So you're missing 180 out of 200 students. So you know your target audience for that school is 200. Only 10 of them come, and so you should advertise more at Lausanne University. So I'm saying, so my bigger question for Switzerland is, do you know how many graduate students there are in life sciences in Switzerland, for example?
There is, if I may answer that.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
We have there is a department of education in Switzerland, and they have this. We can find this in the internet. So we have in life science PhD students doing life science in Switzerland. There are about less than 300, 3,000. Sorry, 3,000.
Okay. Okay.
Postdocs are then around 2,000, I think. And I think that we reach maybe 40% of that. So there's still
room for improvement.
Okay, thank you. There is one more question, and we lost a lot of break, but it's okay, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. So one question there's the last question
running late.
from Kat. Do you know what portion of your delegates are discovering SIB courses via different routes? Example, the SIB website, tests, Google.
I don't have the numbers right there, but they're in the database, because this is also a question we ask, from where did they hear about our courses. So I think most of our participants are in our mailing list, so they receive an email regarding new courses, upcoming courses, but obviously there's the option of tests, and the website is also offered when they answer that question. So, but most of the time is direct email, which is the more efficient, if you wish. But we have these numbers gathered.